What on earth do you think you are doing?
Do you have any idea what that suitcase was worth, you clumsy fool? The investor's voice echoed across the marble terminal. Then a man in a tailored suit ran up, gripped the luggage handler's shoulder, and said one word that silenced the entire crowd. Boss. Marcus Reed had been hauling suitcases at Ashford International for 6 years, arriving before sunrise and leaving long after dark, his exhausted body running on coffee and the quiet promise he'd made to his daughter the night her mother left them both behind. His daughter, Nora, was 7 now, small for her age, with a laugh Marcus lived for and a stack of unpaid medical bills stacked quietly in a kitchen drawer he refused to let her see. Remnants of an asthma diagnosis that had drained every spare dollar they had. That morning, a private jet from Zurich touched down carrying Victor Kane, a hedge fund titan known throughout the industry for demanding perfection and delivering cruelty whenever perfection failed to appear fast enough for his liking. Among Kane's luggage sat a weathered leather case, unremarkable to anyone else, containing a 200-year-old pocket watch that had survived 3 generations of his family, the single possession he valued above every account he'd ever managed. Marcus had been running on 4 hours of sleep and a double shift nobody else volunteered to cover, his hands trembling slightly with exhaustion as he lifted the heavy stack of luggage from the conveyor toward the waiting black sedan outside. The antique case slipped from the top of the stack, tumbling 3 feet onto unforgiving marble, its brass latch springing open on impact, the 200-year-old watch skittering across the polished floor with a sound like breaking glass. Do you have any idea what that suitcase was worth, you clumsy fool? Victor's voice cracked across the terminal like a whip, drawing the attention of every traveler within 50 feet, humiliation flooding Marcus's exhausted face in an instant. That watch survived my great-grandfather's shipwreck. It survived 2 world wars. And you destroyed it in 3 seconds because you can't be bothered to do your job properly. Marcus opened his mouth to apologize, but no words managed to escape. I want him fired. Today. I don't care what excuse he has. Incompetence like this shouldn't be allowed anywhere near people who actually matter. A small crowd had gathered now, phones quietly rising, capturing every second of Marcus's public unraveling. Marcus knelt on the cold marble, gathering the shattered pieces with trembling hands, thinking not of his own humiliation but of Nora's inhaler prescription, sitting unfilled in his kitchen drawer, and exactly how badly he needed this job to remain intact. That was the exact moment Adrian Cole, Ashford International's polished chief operations director, came striding across the terminal at a pace reserved only for genuine emergencies, his expression tightening the instant he recognized who was kneeling on that floor. Victor barely registered the newcomer, already mid-sentence demanding a manager's number, fully expecting another apologetic airport employee groveling for damage control. What happened next stripped every ounce of confidence from his expression entirely. Adrian dropped to one knee beside Marcus, gripped his shoulder firmly, and said, loud enough for the entire terminal to hear clearly, "Boss, are you all right? I came the second I heard what happened out here." The crowd went completely silent. "Boss!" Victor repeated the word like it had personally insulted him, his confident sneer faltering for the first time all morning. "This man hauls luggage. What exactly are you talking about?" Adrian rose slowly to his full height, unbothered and precise. "Marcus Reed owns 51% of Ashford International Holdings, Mr. Kane. He inherited controlling interest from his late uncle 4 years ago and has quietly worked every position in this airport since, starting from the ground up, exactly like this." Victor's face drained of every trace of color, the confident fury from moments earlier collapsing entirely into something closer to panic, as the full weight of what he'd just done settled cold and heavy across his chest. Marcus rose slowly to his feet, brushing dust from his worn uniform with the same quiet dignity he'd carried through 6 years of double shifts, looking Victor directly in the eyes for the first time since the confrontation began. "I take every shift I'm scheduled for, Mr. Kane. Nobody at this airport gets treated differently because of what's written on a stock certificate somewhere. That includes me. It also includes how passengers get spoken to when something breaks. Victor stammered an apology that came out clumsy and rehearsed, offering to pay for any inconvenience, his earlier arrogance replaced entirely by the specific desperation of a man realizing he'd humiliated himself far worse than any suitcase ever could. "Keep your money, Mr. Kane. What I'd actually like is for you to remember this moment the next time you decide someone's uniform tells you everything worth knowing about who they are or what they've built." Adrian later explained, once the crowd finally dispersed, that Marcus insisted on keeping his ownership private specifically so employees would treat him honestly rather than cautiously, a decision that had just proven its worth in front of an entire terminal. That evening, Marcus used part of his ownership dividend, quietly and without ceremony, to establish a permanent medical assistance fund for airport staff, inspired directly by the drawer of unpaid bills he'd hidden from his daughter for over a year. He never once stopped taking shifts on the loading dock, insisting the work kept him honest, though colleagues noticed he started training new hires personally, patient and unhurried in a way most executives never bothered to be. Nora's medical bills were paid in full within the month, her inhaler prescription finally refilled without hesitation, and Marcus found himself, for the first time in years, able to simply watch his daughter laugh without calculating what that laughter might eventually cost him. Never assume the exhausted man lifting your luggage has nothing more to offer than tired hands and a worn uniform. Sometimes the person carrying your bags is quietly carrying an entire company, and every ounce of dignity you refuse to extend him. Thank you for joining. Just a moment.